Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Psalms and Psychology. I'm your host here, Rima Angelique, with my husband Zach.
Hey everybody.
And we have some really juicy topics for you guys today. I put a question box on my Instagram stories just asking people to just ask me anything that they want. And I noticed a trend in the questions. But I find that when I'm on Instagram, I just can't answer the questions the way I want to on a story post.
No, definitely. I mean, some things you have to go really in depth on,
Yes.
and a little story is not nowhere near enough time
It's really not.
or space.
Especially with the topics that we dive into.
Yeah, we're going very deep.
Yes, and I think it's only right that we have a podcast, honestly.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
I know, it is kind of fun. But we want to let you guys know we're about to be more consistent. Y'all really liked the last episode. We were just kind of trying things out. But now we're going to be on a more consistent schedule with our posting. And so, yeah, we want to let you know about that. And so we're going to start off with a would you rather question that I
always love those.
came up with.
Let me hear it.
I didn't come up with it, but I found it from ChatGPT. but I thought it was cool. It was, would you rather work with a church that insists on praying away mental illness or with a secular organization that prohibits any mention of faith during therapy?
Oh, wow. That's actually very tough. But I already know which one I'd rather go with.
Okay, you tell me.
Give me the church.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I don't really know the answer for myself, actually.
I think both are wrong.
Yeah, they're both wrong.
But I would probably rather deal with people that are already on a more spiritually based mindset, even though I do think that there's ample evidence, more than enough evidence to prove that mental illness is not just some spiritual or demonic thing.
You know what though? Maybe, and I don't know if this is coming from a place of like I can change them, but maybe you have more of a chance of changing the perspectives of people within the church if you can kind of educate them on the issues, and then maybe at least you could talk about your faith.
Well, clearly, yeah, they're not going to shut you down for the faith belief or your beliefs. Like if you have a place that's just already just taking faith out of everything completely, and you try to mention that or bring that up, I feel like they're just not going to go for it.
You know what? That's true, because I get a question a lot. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Zach.
Let me go.
I know.
Let me cook.
You're about to cook. With my consultation clients, they do ask me often, should I go into a secular program or a Christian program? Like, which do you suggest? And obviously, I never tell people what to do. I just give them, here are the pros and cons of both.
Definitely.
Because they're pros and cons of both.
No, clearly, yes.
Yes. And for that answer, I think the cool thing about going to a Christian program is while it's not going to be perfect, at least you can be open and honest about your faith beliefs.
Definitely.
Even if it's lukewarm faith that the program's providing you, at least you can speak about your faith in a paper that you're writing or a report and not get laughed at.
No, definitely. They're not just going to be shutting it down immediately off rip. I feel like if you go to any other, like if you go to, let's say, a secular institute,
yeah,
they're not going to want to hear it.
Well, when I was in a semi-conservative school, it wasn't Christian at all, but like in undergrad, it was pretty conservative, like in the makeup of students.
The student makeup was, I'm sure it was,
yeah,
but I'm sure the school was also,
well,
you know how schools are.
I know how schools are. But my philosophy professor had us raise our hands. He was making fun of God, and he was making fun of like Christian stuff, and he had us raise our hands, and he said, who of you deems faith as an important factor in your life? Because he's trying to gauge the audience before he goes all in on why God isn't real. And only one person raised their hand.
That's a brave soul right there.
Yeah.
Because I know that...
I was too scared to.
I know. That's disappointing.
And this
Come on.
Now, at this time in my life, I wouldn't, but I'll be honest. I was cowardly there.
Well, when you're surrounded by,
lions.
Right? I mean, yeah.
I love that you brought up the book of Daniel. Inadvertently, you just did. And that's actually going to tie into what we're going to talk about some. But I wanted to start, too, with a psalm. Because we are Psalms in psychology. We didn't bring one up last time.
That's weird.
It is weird.
A little bit awkward.
It is awkward, but
Kinda
hopefully nobody noticed.
False advertising.
And it's kind of like on Instagram, I'll do like 5 things, about your relationship with God or just 5 psychology facts or whatever. And I'll do like 1, 2, 3, 5. And then there'll always be that person that's like, where's 4?
Well, you mean that's how you get people hooked?
I know, but I don't do it on purpose. I just mess up. So
That's how you get the comments. You get the algorithm to pick it up.
So Psalm 118, verse 8 through 9, it says, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes." What I love about that is we're going to dive into a question I get a lot on Instagram. The question being how the study of psychology has impacted my faith. And it all boils down to this one concept. The study of psychology was never the problem. It was my fear of man.
Now we're cooking.
Okay,
now
so
we're cooking.
I want that to kind of be on your heart and your mind as we get into today's podcast.
All right, let's go. I can't wait.
Okay, so I also want to start off. I did get a few. I get great questions, and I feel so bad because I can't answer all of them.
Like what?
Well, I have a few here that I'm just going to answer at the beginning, just
heck
because.
yes.
Yeah, just a few little ones.
I love this. Can we do this more often, please?
Yes.
Please, people, send us your questions.
Oh, they do.
I love answering questions.
They do.
Oh, do they? Oh, awesome. Yeah. Please, well, share them, please.
I know. I never share them with you. I feel
why?
I don't know.
I feel like you're cutting me out. You're gatekeeping.
I kind of am, and I have been, and I'm sorry.
That's horrible. Why would you do that to me?
I know. The first one is, do you believe once a cheater, always a cheater?
Well, I mean, if you did cheat once, you will be known as a cheater always. So even if you're not cheating, people are probably going to have that, that idea about you.
So just be an image, even if it isn't you.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes. They're going to have that image and that idea, but at the same time, no, you can cheat, and you can always change your life. God can change your life in any way possible. So I mean, if you could be a cheater, you could be the worst cheater ever, and then one day, you have an encounter with Jesus and everything changes. I don't think that once you cheat, you're always going to be a cheater, but you will be known as a cheater, and people might take that and run with it, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So the answer is no, but kind of yes.
Yeah.
So not a very great answer, but that's kind of what the answer is. It depends.
That's the psychology answer.
Yeah,
basically.
definitely.
I believe that it says in the Bible, once we're Christians, we're not defined by our sin. We're not defined by our actions.
See, I like the way you took that answer already more.
And no, but I'm thinking about it. I got more time to think. You just got that thrown at you.
Yeah, see, you wanted to strategically play this.
I've been thinking about it.
I can't blame you.
But it says in the Bible that we are now new creations in Christ. And I think of that as like reptilian skin shedding off. Like we're like new.
Yeah, like we're just like a snake. You're getting rid of our old bodies.
Yeah, but
like a hermit crab.
But then we turn into something else because we don't want to be snakes.
Well, yeah, that's just something else that shed. You were like a caterpillar shedding into or turning into a moth.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, why not a butterfly? Why'd you have to go moth on us?
You've read the Bible. We're not butterflies. We're definitely moths.
Okay.
Let's be real.
That's fair. And I don't think we're defined by our actions, but I do think it takes true repentance, to change and turn away.
No,
but
definitely.
God can change anyone and make them into a new creation.
Exactly.
However, I do believe because of psychological makeup that's a temptation you might struggle with again, and to always be on guard because it says that the enemy is prowling around like a lion. And that he's going to try to get you on your weaknesses. And if he knows that's your weakness, that I think that's his temptation that you will struggle with again.
Oh, yeah. If you fall into it in the past, he will tempt you with it in the future. There's no doubt. But that means that now you just have a chance to show that you are changed.
Yeah.
And to prove that you're changed.
There's grace for you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's grace for all of us. And we're no better than you if we haven't done it,
No, I mean, we've all lusted. We've all cheated. We've all already, whether it be in person or in our hearts and souls.
We've all fallen short. And we will continue to, but it's all about repentance and turning back to the cross. So
definitely. I love that answer.
Oh, thank you.
It's always good to point that back.
Well, what I love about asking you questions is you're not always thinking about like the psychological nuances of everything. And I really, it's refreshing for me.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like you being here.
Yeah, I'm not a psychologist. I just have a lot of mental health issues.
But at the same time, though, you are psychologically minded, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, my whole life. Well, it is an interest to me. I'm really interested in it. And I don't know how I could be with you if I wasn't at least somewhat interested in it because this is your entire life. But,
yeah, I know. I know.
But, I mean, I definitely find it very interesting and intriguing.
Well, let's move on, I guess, to our next question. But that was an interesting one. Whoever asked that was a good one. Somebody said, I'm so afraid to die. What do I do?
Well, I would say work on just continuing your relationship with Christ. Keep
Yeah.
working and growing in that relationship, because ultimately the fear of death, when you're with Christ, I believe that the fear of death will eventually dwindle. I mean, of course, as a human, you're always going to be struggling with that. That's something that
Yeah.
will always be like, that's something that's going to scare you. I mean, not even if it's just death, but I know I'm not necessarily afraid of like the after death portion, but I definitely do not want to die in any kind of gruesome way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to die. Like, that's terrifying. Like, if I was drowned or like just anything crazy, like, it's terrifying.
That is scary.
So that's something that you're probably always going to have a fear. And fear is just something that comes to humans naturally. It is. We are fearful creatures because, we're not God. We're not perfect, and we have sin.
Yeah.
We've allowed that into our lives. And because of that, the enemy's going to try to make us scared. He's going to try to talk to us. He's going to try to make us feel like, you know what, this is something that we need to be focused on instead of what actually matters. So I would say overall, it's normal to have fears.
Yeah.
But the more you work on your relationship with God, read your Bible, like reflect on his promises, meditate on, just meditate with him. Just spend time with him, and you will lose that fear over time, or it will lessen.
Yeah.
Because you'll realize, look, death is better than what's on this planet. And it is. When you're with the Lord, I promise you, anything that happened on this planet is not going to matter to you anymore. You're not going to be looking back
That's
on it
true.
and missing it.
Yeah.
There's no FOMO when you're in heaven. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be there where the action is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you summed up the answer. Because I think about how that is the elephant in the room, as our father of evangelism would say.
Who's our father of evangelism?
Ray Comfort. The wages of sin is death, and that is always going to be the elephant in the room. It's a very normal fear to have because it's the one thing we're all going to go through. It's the one traumatic thing that we're all going to go through. And I think it's also, for some people, it's an obsessive compulsion thing to always think about death. Also, like people who have been through trauma in young age, they were maybe exposed to the idea of death way too young, and that they think about it a lot and like way too much. And that can be something obsessive that takes over. And that's definitely something I've really struggled with. And I've noticed it kind of tying back to your answer when I'm not in my word and I'm not in my scripture. Because now I start to think of death as not really even existing. It's more of a transferring to my father, to be with my father. Because, of course, death still exists. Like, it would be wrong for me to say it doesn't. But I see it as like a transfer to be with my dad. And I mean, and it's something that when you fix your eyes, I love this verse that says to fix your eyes on the heavenly things, to put your eyes on. And when I am looking at the heavenly things, I start to fear the material less, and the material worries it fixes your eyes on the right thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you.
I love these things. I could sit and talk about them forever, but
yeah, we've already talked about it for like 10 minutes.
Dang.
We spent like 10 minutes on questions.
Okay, well that's fun. We'll do some maybe every episode. We'll
Definitely.
ask a few.
And we'll have to figure out a format. Like, should we do them at the end? Should we do them at the beginning? Cause I kind of would like if we like had like an ending section where we just answered some questions. That would be fun.
That would be fun. We're building the plane as we fly it.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that, right? And what could go wrong?
No, I mean, we're just going to crash and burn a couple times, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's all part of the game.
Exactly.
It's for the culture.
And I think they'll like it. It's a little real. We're keeping it real.
Yeah, we are keeping it
There's
real.
not too many
We're probably keeping it too real here.
A little bit. But you'll edit.
We'll see.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with not. Okay. So people have asked me a lot about how did psychology impact your faith? And as I said earlier, it wasn't the study of it that's really impacted my faith. It's been more so the fear of man.
Like, you mean like an authority figure in psychology, or just...
It could be, but it's also been like the culture of it, like the culture around it. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're
talking
about.
People in the field, but maybe not even authorities in the field, if that makes sense. First of all, I don't want to be disrespectful in any of my storytelling. I'm going to be very intentional about that. But we might dive into some controversy, but we'll try to keep it pretty... What do we want to do? PG-13? I'm just kidding. Okay, so anyway, I started school right out of the gate. I was very spiritually alive at the time when I started graduate school. I did 4 years or 3 years of undergrad, got my bachelor's of science in psychology, and then I went gap year. Me and you got married. Fun stuff.
Always fun.
A little stressful to plan a whole wedding.
Very stressful. But you killed it. You did a great
Oh,
job.
thank you. And then I joined that thing that wasn't good for me, that spiritual group, but I learned a lot. And it was like, there's a cult. We will never name them. But right out of the gate, I was feeling spiritually alive. And when I started school, I realized that I was going from this culture of like, here's hard, fast truth of life, and here's a book, and the book has all the truth in it. And then I was entering into a world of like, it depends. And so in undergrad, I learned about the it depends notion, where anytime you ask a professor a question, you might as well not, because they're just going to say it depends.
Is that because they don't want to give you an answer, or they don't know the answer?
It's actually neither. They know of the nuances in psychology and how everybody's psychological makeup is like dependent on so many different factors, and then there's so many mediating and moderating variables to every single relationship. And the other reason is they mostly do correlational designs in psychology.
And what would that be?
So it's finding a relationship between two different things, but you can't assert causation in a correlation because it's not longitudinal.
You were just trying to get everyone to click off of this episode immediately. How about you dumb it down for me a little bit? The audience probably understands this, but you might need to dumb it down just a little bit for me.
In longitudinal research, you're studying different time points.
Okay.
So you can show, okay, this caused this because it came after this.
Okay, I got you.
But in correlational, you're just saying these two things are related. So like in summertime, ice cream sales and murders, there's a correlation.
Oh.
But really, what else is there? It's summertime. It's hot. That heat. I did a tour of a jail a few times, and it was freezing cold in there. They keep it really cold. Why do you think they do that?
Because it stinks.
Well, it did smell like pee, but I mean,
I'm just kidding.
It's because they'll fight if it's hot. So they want to keep them cold and shivering in their blankets.
Well, see, that's actually very smart, because if it was cold and I was in jail, I'm definitely not getting up to fight. I'm getting all the covers on me, and I'm laying in bed until the police officer comes and gets me out.
But those cold classrooms in school would make you fall asleep.
Trust me.
Back in high school.
Trust me.
I know. I saw you sleeping.
Yeah, I was definitely napping.
I know. Unless I was around, though, you kind of like to be up for me.
I talk to you a little bit here and there, but even then, I mean, we're waking up at like 7 in the morning, or we're waking up at like 5:30 in the morning, getting to school at 7.
Insane.
That seems like child abuse almost.
I would agree, actually. So about the it depends mentality, you start to be really well acquainted with that it depends thing. But I'm going from like this great truth that I'm relying my life upon, and then I'm going into a world where it's like, I don't know, it depends. Like everything is dependent on whatever. It's like there's no real truth. It's like the truth is in the hands of the client. So you kind of have to operate, if you know truth as a Christian, you have to operate within a different truth for 50 to 60 minutes of a session.
You have to pretend like, okay, so everything that's real is whatever this person is experiencing.
Yes.
This is real life.
Not my life.
This person's experiences is real.
Yes. So, but I did realize a pattern when I entered graduate school. Every professor was I'm not going to speak for every professor, but a lot of professors or like authorities in the field would say it depends unless it was an issue that they were really passionate about.
Oh yeah, because then there's no questioning it. If they're passionate, they would believe it. That's the truth.
Yes, and you could see it kind of, they'd get pretty defensive.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And you'd feel it in the room. It'd be a big defensiveness, and it would be like a fight. It would be like very defensive, like this is how it is, and that's it.
Yeah, they're not even going to put up with anyone saying anything else.
Yeah, so it kind of starts to make you wonder when do you apply this it depends thing? Are there some truths? Are there not? Like, I don't understand. And people do get very emotionally invested and passionate about the issues they care about.
Oh, well, of course.
But and a few things did happen to me where professors, there was a big misunderstanding with me that happened.
What was that?
Well, we had a big assignment, and I'm not going to give too many details, but we did have an assignment where a TA kind of said that I was pushing faith onto somebody. And the professor didn't look into it until I had failed the assignment, and it was a huge assignment. The professor sat me down and said, look, when you walk into the room, that faith goes off. You take that off.
Yeah, but what did you, I mean, we don't have to talk too deep about it if you're not allowed to. But
no, because I don't want to talk bad about anybody, and it was all a misunderstanding, and God used it. But basically, there was somebody I was working with, and it wasn't a real client. It was just like a volunteer person.
Okay.
I gave them the 2 Corinthians 12:9 verse where it says God can work perfectly through our weaknesses.
See, you would think people would just like that, but...
Well, she liked it. It helped her. But they, the TA said that I was pushing faith, even though this individual was Christian.
Wait, so even if they are Christian, you can't...
Well, that's okay. That's what I was at. I was like, whoa, is this for me? Is this field even for me?
I get you have to ask, like... We got to figure out if they want Christian therapy or if they'd rather have a secular therapy. But,
yeah.
I mean, if they're Christian, you're not really pushing faith on them. They should know that.
Yeah, I know. So then I had to talk with the professor, and she's like, look, you got to take this off, And I had this feeling, okay, she's busy. She's a busy woman. She didn't see what I did. She just took from the TA. And so I looked at she trusted. And I looked at the analytics on the video, and I'll be darned, the professor didn't watch a minute of it.
Oh, you can see exposed.
Yeah. And I said, this makes sense. She didn't see it. So then I had to redo so we had to do like a whole log to go with it, where we had to type everything that was said between us and the volunteer in a 45-minute clip, even every. I
remember you doing these. Oh, that was impossible. I cannot believe you had to do that.
But we had to also comment on everything that we said, and then what we could have done better, like write entire like paragraphs on each thing.
Dude, you had to write down every little sound up to farts
even
included.
If you farted, you had
like,
to.
Like, what in the world? It's insane. It's insanity. You're over here just writing and a little fart here. It's crazy. It's insane.
I know that had me wanting to cut and chop the video,
I mean, I just don't know how they expect people to do that. Like,
I know, but they've since revised it.
We just need AI. This is what AI was made for.
This is true.
That is AI, if I ever heard of it before. Like, come on.
Yeah. So
why are we doing that?
Yeah. So I had to redo the whole assignment where I had to type up where I could have had better self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then then the professor actually watched it, because she then actually graded it. It wasn't the TA anymore, because I failed the class. Oh. So she re-looked at it, and she was like, Rima, this is actually beautiful. I love this. You should have pushed a little harder.
I feel like there's a lesson in here.
What do you think it is?
A major lesson.
What do you think?
Stand by your convictions, because you could be right.
Oh,
even if the professor is saying that you're not right.
I agree, because then God said to me, you should have trusted me, because I was so messed up about the whole thing, because I was like, I'm not supposed to be here if this is what it is.
Yeah, I feel that, though. I mean, that would be very discouraging.
But but I also learned, though, that everything you learn in school isn't exactly how it works in the real world. I did learn that, because in my second and third years of school, I got to see people for therapy, and I realized that a lot of things you're taught, where the professors are very obstinate with you, and they're like, there's a yes and a no, about the issues they care about. Because in ethics, when we took ethics, it was like, they're just very like, here's what it is. This is what it has to be. Then you realize in the real world, that's not it at all. I had a lot of Christian clients who I could work with, teach them about the Bible, and they would love it. And pray for them before sessions or after sessions. That's very common.
They always have a set of rules, but then...
And the rules never really account for all the different situations.
No, and it's like with ethics. Yes, everyone should be ethical. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You should not be acting unethically. As a therapist, you should not be getting with your clients. That is deplorable behavior.
Well, yeah, that's just, you got to go.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like there's stuff that you can do that is definitely like 100% unethical, fully unethical behavior. And I do understand, like, when it comes to Christianity and being a Christian and being a therapist, you're being held to a higher standard, because you have a client who could be in a vulnerable position,
when I've worked with people already, like at the psych hospital, and this has been some really cool things that have happened. I've had non-Christians I worked with, and because sometimes there's some issues that you can help with that are just like psychological issues, but then afterwards, they'd ask me like, "There's something different about you. What is it?" Or, there's a light shining through you. Or people would be like, I see that cross necklace. You're the only Christian I'm willing to work with.
I bet that feels good, though.
That did feel kind of good. But, and also there have been people who would speak against Christians to me, but then when they were with me, they would see like I would have a Christian cup that I carried around with biblical affirmations. And
see the workarounds.
And a Christian notebook that I use. And these aren't even just workarounds. These are just me. I like to express myself, and I want to express myself,
No, definitely. I know.
And no, but it is a way of showing. It's like,
but ultimately, this is what you care about more than anything.
In your office, you're allowed to have Christian decorations and all that. You can have Bible verses on your walls and stuff.
See, I feel like I could go into your office one day and I'm just going to see a gigantic picture of Jesus and like...
Yeah, I know.
Just a bunch of like verses just everywhere, and I'm gonna be like, okay, this is the kind of therapist I would want.
No, I'm gonna have like the Ray Comfort quiz on the walls. Like, do you think you're a good person quiz?
Shout out to Ray Comfort. You're awesome, Ray.
I know. He viewed my story on Instagram.
Did he really?
But I messaged him and I said, "Hey, I saw you look at my story.
He left you on red."
Yes. He probably didn't approve of me.
Yeah, he's probably like, "Ooh, talking about psychology. Ugh, the devil's work right there."
Honestly, probably. But I respect him so much.
I do too. That's the thing. I love Ray. I respect him. I hope that he continues to grow and continues to reach millions.
He's amazing.
He is.
Who hasn't seen a Ray Comfort video?
Oh, we've all have. Come on now. The Way of the Master. Let's go.
Yeah. And then with time, I just realized that, like, back to what we were saying, it wasn't the study of psychology that ended up being the problem. Because I did make some sort of enemies at school just for my own convictions and things I stand up for.
Well, enemies are just people that just don't like you for.
Well, they kind of...
Yeah, enemies might be a little harsh.
But we like to use harsh language when we story tell.
That's fair.
People were upset with me because I live by the Bible, and I stood by some convictions on my social media.
And psychology in and of itself is a very liberal field. You're going to have people that are probably typically more left-leaning going into that field.
Yeah.
And a lot of times Christian values and left-leaning values are pretty much opposite.
Yes.
So there's going to be problems.
So it is hard if you go to a Christian psychology program because it's going to
like
feel
two
cognitive
people coming
dissonance.
together. Two groups of people that are just completely aligned or differently aligned.
Yeah, it's like cognitive dissonance for real.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to research, though, I don't believe research is the problem.
No.
It's the interpretation of research. People can make research whatever they want it to be sometimes, and then
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can make it say whatever you want.
Yeah, and then you have the file drawer problem. So if like something doesn't align with your like political beliefs or whatever, you can throw it out. But so I've seen amazing research showing that like faith helps people so much. Prayer, worship, forgiveness, principles in the Bible that just have been principles for thousands of years. There's so much research on research showing how helpful these things can be to mental and just mental health in general, and physical health as well. Did you know forgiveness can actually kill you?
Wait, what?
I mean, unforgiveness. Sorry.
I'm about to say, hold on. Let me unforgive some people.
No, unforgiveness can wreak havoc on like all systems of the body. That's what the research shows.
Really?
These are all biblical concepts.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like the more you study psychology and the more you look at like biblical psychology, like that's a weird sounding word, but let's say how the Bible will tell you to handle certain things. If you lived your life by how the Bible told you to live your life, I feel like we'd have so many less problems out there.
Yeah. So the study of it wasn't messing me up. Because the study of it, a lot of the things I was seeing in the studies were things that just aligned with Scripture. The thing that was messing me up was the fear of man, the fear of my professors or like authorities in the field like not agreeing with me. or
Oh,
like making people unhappy.
But that's something a lot of people face, though, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people go through situations where they might believe one thing or they might know one thing, but just because the whole group of people that they're surrounded by is telling them the opposite, they're going to suppress what they believe just to fit in as groupthink.
Yeah,
it is.
That's social psychology.
It's to survive, though. It's a survival mechanism. You got to survive. You can't. If you stand out, they're gonna go and attack you.
Yes, and I would see it happen to my colleagues, so to speak. So it would like make me kind of hide and be like, oh, I'm scared.
It's like, oh, I can't upset the mass.
Yes, and it is a survival instinct. You're actually right about that.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Some people just have to do what they have to do to get through. And then if you need to do that, once you get out in the field on your own, that's a different story.
But actually what you're saying, though, is such a good point.
Oh, yeah. I know. I make a lot of good points.
No, but what I mean is, like, it's not just in the field of psychology. It's everywhere. Every field.
Oh, it's everywhere.
What would the Bible say? That everywhere you go, if you're standing on your conviction, you're bringing the light of Christ into places that might be dark. It's going to be everywhere. This is for everybody.
Exactly. 100%.
And when Daniel was, and I was thinking about the book of Daniel where he had to go learn the language of the pagans.
Yeah.
He had to go into the dark places.
Good
he had
point.
to learn the language.
Good pull.
Well, somebody gave me that a few years ago. I'm not going to take credit for it.
Well, that's still a good pull, though, even if it was a few years ago, to bring that up in this topic.
Because how are you going to change something from the outside? Nobody's going to.
Well, you have to learn.
I mean,
sometimes it's like you have to learn the language of these people so that they can trust you and they will see you and they will learn about you and they will start wanting to talk to you, and then you can start talking to them and start planting seeds. And I mean, they're not going to, a lot of people don't trust outsiders. That just is the way it is.
Well, our world is all about credentials. So like if you're coming into a psychological place and you're like, hey, you guys need to change things around here, they're going to be like, who are you?
Good point.
Who are you? And so I think if you want to change something, you might have to go into you're going to have to go into the dark places sometimes, and you're going to have to go and be alone, and you're going to have to stand alone on some issues.
Yeah.
And that is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, and I did not do great at it.
I don't think anyone really does good. You have to be built differently to like embrace that kind of lifestyle. And there are people out there that do embrace it, but I feel like they've just been, their psychology has just been beaten down so much they just don't care. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest.
Maybe they just got so mentally tough it just doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, I have some friends in my program where I just look at them and I'm really inspired by them, that they've been able to hold fast to their faith. And I think the thing that I've noticed from them is that they stand on their convictions. And they are they're the kindest people. They're the most loving people. But what they do is you can tell there's a separation. They're not fully invested and involved. Not always. Some of them might be. But what I mean is they have a community outside that they rely on. Oh,
that's so important.
They have a community of believers who are praying for them, holding them up, and taking care of them from the outside, that they're not getting all their worth from the inside of all this stuff happening with all these people. And so they also do maybe have that people pleasing, but they also have that spiritual armor and those people lifting them up.
Well, the saying, it takes a town or a village to raise somebody. I mean, it takes a village to keep us all going. Yeah. Truly, I mean, we need people behind us. We need people that are going to be encouraging us and supporting us and telling us that they have our back and we can go take a risk to or here or there because we know someone's got our back at home. That's so important. That is. And that's why as a Christian, the Christian family, it is a family. We support each other. We love each other. We wish the best for each other. We help each other out. And it really does come in handy. And having that support in that background, knowing that, look, I'm going into the darkness right now, but I know that I'm being prayed for. I have people I can turn to anytime I need help, anytime I need something. It just it relieves so much stress and anxiety, and it's such a good thing to have. But even though you might have it, it's still going to be hard in those dark places.
Oh, absolutely.
You're still going into a dark place. That's why you need it, because it's going to be hard.
Oh, yeah, you have to be. Oh, yeah, it is hard. What I realized was I started to isolate because I felt different than everybody. Even though I knew there were a lot of people who were around me who believe the same things as me, I still fell into the lies of the enemy when it comes to isolation and feeling like I was alone. And that really had an impact on my faith. And so as you can see, it was none of the study, because I started to see people in therapy and realized, oh, these things work together. This doesn't mess up my faith at all. These things really can work together. And if they don't, it's just a theory. You don't have to use it. There's a lot of theories that are like, okay, that's just a theory. And theories get thrown out over the years. All that to say, it wasn't the field. It wasn't the study. It was like the fear of man, the fear of people pleasing. And the thing about people pleasing is it will wear you out. It will run you dry. It will get you spread thin in a million different places because you want to please everybody and everybody's on a different side. So how are you going to do that? Then you're like Flat Stanley. You're a piece of silly putty and you're being like...
You're just stretched out.
Yeah. And pulled in every single direction. And people pleasing comes from a place of fear. This is what God told me. I was in a Wegmans and he spoke to me.
I mean, he could talk to you anywhere. I love that.
I was walking through a Wegmans and he said that you have been working out of a place of fear.
And I could see that.
Yeah, not out of a place of love. He said, perfect love casts out all fear. And I was working in a way that was out of fear of everybody and getting in trouble or whatever. And that wore me out. It burned me out. And it messed me up in my faith. It had nothing to do with the study of it. It had everything to do with, honestly, I wasn't putting on the armor of God. I didn't have that community where I was letting them like pour into me. I was isolating. And I think that's one of the biggest lies of the enemy is that you should isolate.
No, you should never isolate.
I know. I feel like that's a big lie. That
isolation is bad.
Nobody will understand. If you reach out, nobody's going to understand. Nobody's there for you. Nobody cares about you. That's the biggest lie.
Well, and that's something that I think a lot of people that went through abuse or that a lot of people that went through difficult times, the enemy would talk to them and tell them that stuff because he knows that the best thing for you to do is to go get in a community. Go get friends, go get people that you can talk to, you can grow with, you can work on yourself with and grow, like you can work towards a goal with, you know? The enemy's going to try to tell you that you cannot. No one will understand. You can never change. It's not kind of similar to that first question we asked about the always a cheater. He's going to try to tell you that, look, this is who you are. This is who you are. You can never be anything different because he's going to want to keep you where you are. Don't let him.
With this field, that's such a powerful statement because when I worked at the psych hospital, there is this everybody kind of has that idea of like, well, they're never going to change anyway. And it does say that people are set in their ways at 35. That's what the research shows.
A lot of times, sure. But an encounter with God can change
everything.
A lot of people.
I know, and that's the beauty of the gospel because it's like only he could do it. Only he could do it.
Yeah, only through him. Exactly. There's only one way.
There's only one way.
And, you know, there's a lot of... And you don't need God, let's say, per se, to fix yourself from some mental illnesses. Sure, therapy can help because a lot of the stuff, like in therapy, these things are in the Bible. You know, like CBT, you work on solutions or whatever.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out solution-based therapy. You're trying to figure something out that you actually can work on. But then there's going to be times where you get to something that only God can help you with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think at the core of every human soul, like the need for fulfillment, only God can help you with that. I think there's like little things here and there that therapy can help with, like finding solutions, like emotional regulation techniques, mindfulness practices, like... But the one thing that I don't find therapy helping fully with is like helping people let go. How many people do you know hold on to like deep, bitter resentment?
Oh, so many.
And they just like, it eats them away.
It's probably one of the main things that's hurting people to this day is just that they can't get over something.
And then how do you let it go?
Either they have resentment towards somebody or there's something that maybe they did that they can't forgive themselves for or forgive someone else for. And they just hold on to it and they just think about it and ruminate on it and it eats them alive.
Yeah, because like you can't. I had a therapist tell me to release it to the elements. I never did that.
What is that? Well,
you can't.
What does that mean?
You can't do that. I don't know how.
Release it to the elements. Yeah. Like what? The elements are just going to come and pick it up like a DoorDash order at the front door? What do you mean?
But no, seriously, only God is strong enough. Like only Jesus can carry those burdens. I'm telling you, the elements won't carry them for you.
No, never. You need God. That's the thing these people don't understand. It's like humans are designed. We have a longing for God. God will give us that purpose that we are trying to seek so desperately. Yet, we don't want to live the way God wants us to live. We want to do our own things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we keep distancing ourselves from God, going towards the other direction in a way that's we know it's going to keep on ending in failure, but we keep doing it because we just don't, we're very proud. We're proud.
Pride.
It's pride.
It's pride.
It's got to be pride. Like, what else is it? We know we're miserable. We're doing something that isn't working, yet we keep chugging at it and keep going. And it's like, what are we doing? We're just digging ourselves deeper and deeper. When in reality, if we just gave up on our pride, humbled ourselves just a little bit and said, look, God, I can't do this. I need you. He's not going to turn you away.
No.
He never will. He never has. He wants you just as much as you want him, more. He wants you more than you want him.
Aww.
And that's the crazy part. That's the insane part about all of this.
Yeah, because he doesn't need us.
He doesn't need us. We need God. He doesn't need us.
I'm tearing up a little bit, but
it's so true, though.
I know.
It's just sad to see how many people out there, you see them, they just feel so broken and so lost, and it's like, just try God, just try talking to Jesus, just try it. What are you gonna lose? Look, you might have to give up doing some of the things that you're doing that you love so much, like whether it's sex before marriage, drugs, or like just whatever kind of thing you're into that you don't want to give up on. Just try it.
Well, there are a few things you can lose by talking to God. Pride, ego, resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness, anger, rage.
Exactly. It's just like God will literally fulfill you in ways that you have never thought you could be fulfilled. You have never experienced it. But you really haven't.
Can I bring up something?
Please. It's your podcast, man.
Well, perhaps some people don't go to God because they feel like they don't deserve the things that he can provide. I know some people like that.
See,
like depression will tell you that.
Well, yeah, but that's...
Because we don't deserve it.
That's a really good point.
But we have to learn, and I say this in a prayer a lot. I'm speaking from my own experience, by the way. But I have to say in a prayer a lot, I don't deserve it, but I'm going to accept it because you want to freely give it to me. Well, it's a gift.
Definitely.
And when we receive a gift from somebody we love, we don't say, did I deserve this from you? Oh, I'm not going to, I can't. Well, maybe some of us do that, though.
Well, it's like what you're describing, that is a real problem. A lot of people have that. And that's like the opposite of pride. It's like shame.
Which is also rooted in pride.
I mean, it's the same spectrum. It's just two different sides, you know? You have to realize that as you have been made in the image of the Lord, God sees value in you. And God will always see value in you, no matter where you are in life, no matter how far you have fallen, no matter how rock bottom you are. The Lord will see value in you. You're going to have to lose that shame. You got to get rid of it. You have to understand that there's nothing you can do that will make you worthy, and there's nothing you can do that will make you unworthy.
That's freeing, though.
It is freeing. It is freeing.
Yeah, I really love that. Thank you so much for...
Of course. That's just like something that I think we're both very passionate about.
Yeah, and I just love to let you like have those moments where... Because, guys, we have these conversations in our kitchen randomly all the time for years.
Well, yeah, this is kind of why we started the podcast.
Yeah, I get this speech a lot. Like this... It's always... No, I don't mean it like that. It's always just filled with love, though. It's just like passion. There's a lot of passion in this house.
No, you guys could never imagine what living with this girl is like.
Oh, what's it like?
It's super fun. You never know what to expect. You never know what's coming next, but you always know it's going to be something epic.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad.
No, I actually enjoy living with you a lot. I'm just saying, but we do have funny conversations all the time and very serious conversations, and sometimes very serious conversations where we're joking the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how we are. You know, it's a little neurodivergent spiciness in this relationship.
You like that term these days, neurospicy term.
You used it yesterday while we were out. That was the first time I heard neurospicy, but I thought it was funny, so I wanted to take credit.
At my work. I learned it from somebody.
I stole it from you.
Yeah, somebody told me about it, and then I told you.
All right, we'll give you credit because no one on this podcast knows who told you, so we're going to just straight up just rob them from their
Well, they found it on
credit.
Instagram, they told me, so.
Oh, so no, that's how it goes, man. If it gets posted on the internet, it's free game.
Yeah,
it's free.
It's royalty free.
Anyone can take it. All right, well, is there anything else you want to talk about today, Rima?
I just want to say thank you guys so much for asking those questions on Instagram and engaging with us.
Yes, please keep them coming because I love answering questions and hearing myself talk.
Don't cut that out. That was funny.
I'm not.
And it wouldn't be a movement without you guys. And I feel really cliche saying that, but I really do appreciate each one of you and just all the DMs and love that we get. It kind of has been a corrective experience for me, just going through what I've been through in my, in the past of what I was talking about during this podcast, realizing there are people out there who love the Lord and care about people and want to help people. It means a lot to me.
Definitely.
It's really been really something beautiful to see, especially after all the things I've been through, like God bringing the harvest and showing that there are many people out there who are zealous for Him and zealous for helping people and have the same interests as me. And I don't know, it's absolutely amazing. So today we talked about how the study of psychology changed or shaped my relationship with God, specifically the fear of man and people pleasing. Now, in future episodes, we'll probably get into how it helped my faith, how it just helped me with my relationship with God, and maybe even some other things like too much knowledge.
Yeah, like
how that's made me worse.
Yeah, true. Because sometimes you just have to accept things that happen. Don't try to make sure or try to figure it out too much.
Yeah, that's called intellectualizing.
Yeah, don't intellectualize it.
Yeah, but we don't want to open up too many cans of worms right now because we're not going to explain it. We're going.
Yeah,
we're
just forget that was even mentioned.
We're about to log off for the day. We will be back more consistently.
No, yeah, definitely.
And we want to promise you guys that. We want to leave you with this. Back to our psalm. We're going to wrap it up with our Psalms 118.
Hit them with it.
Verse 8 through 9, it says, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to put trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes."
Amen. I love that.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
All right, you guys. We love you so much.
All right, everyone. See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.